Hello out there and good morning traders. It is March 25th, 2024 and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. Let's go into our recap from our last prep and then we will update our levels and session plan for today. So take a look at our last prep. We were kind of in an interesting spot with the ES. We were talking about the bearishness coming from this area and kind of a neutral overall spot here, but it was essentially a dissonant zone back and forth in terms of acceptance, essentially saying that if this neutral area held up, it was going to be a little bit more bullish, this being a little bit more bearish, and we can end up seeing some chop in between. So our scenarios kind of broke down like this. We were looking at scenario one being grindy back in between. In scenarios 2 and 3, I don't remember how they were numbered, but 2 and 3 essentially were breakouts or breakdowns from this zone heading out of that area. So that was our overall DMI for what we were looking at from our last prep on the 22nd. And you can kind of see what ended up playing out. We got into the open. We saw a rejection from this area, got into the open, held this grindy area back up. Doesn't quite get back up to that target area, comes back down, holds again, and that was pretty much it. So the bullish side of things definitely held up, and that was where our line in the sand was for scenario one. So scenario one essentially was the only thing that played out for the session, and that was not much else to say there. Taking a look at what's happened overnight is we start to see a little bit of a transition out of this area, so that will kind of set us up for what we're going to talk about today. So now taking a look at what happened today, we have a dissonant zone. We have a little bit of dissonance back and forth in the ES right now with a bearish area here and a bullish area down here. And that's really going to be kind of the main story that we're looking at for today's DMI. Now, where we're currently sitting in terms of the risk-reward landscape, this bearishness completes its ideas kind of in our narrative or our structure down into this bullish zone. So for trading purposes, scenario one actually is a bearish move into the bullish area. And then, of course, from there, we could start talking about our alternate scenarios. So this really is scenario one. What we have going on right now, bearish into this bullish zone down here. Once it gets down to that bullish zone, that's its target. That's the completion of scenario one. Now let's talk about some alternate scenarios. Scenario two, if we don't really push down any further, we just kind of push back up. This comes under fire, and then we push through it. Scenario two is that we're looking for the upside here coming out through this zone. We do have some neutral references that would act, as spots to take some scale, some targeting. You can see that they were areas of value previously. So that's something to pay attention to the upside. And this is our overall destination stretch target, if you will, if we end up seeing scenario two. Now, with scenarios 3 and 4, we're talking about scenario 1 playing out, coming down into here, and then we start looking at this bullish line in the sand for scenarios 3 and 4. Of course, scenario 3, we hold this up, we start seeing some bullishness coming out. There aren't any neutral references in this zone. Okay, so a tactic that I've seen people use in the past is as the session develops, for example, if we were to do something like this, come down, do something like this, and continue down, and then start coming back out. Some people use micro support and resistance, stuff like that to help with neutral zones or targeting or scaling if they don't have an intraday framework that they use like we do. The Nadro traders, we have an intraday framework that we use to help us, handle open spaces like this without a lot of neutral references. But this is one tactic you could use in a spot like this. If you start seeing, scenario 3 playing out and you're coming back out of it, you could see what kind of support and resistance had developed at that point, and then use that to help you scale if you are someone that scales. Just a quick note on some tactics there. But anyway, scenario 3, line in the sand holds, heads back out. This is its overall target for that scenario. If scenario 4 develops and we end up seeing a breakdown of this zone, scenario 4's target is down here at this neutral zone right here at the 5220s. And that's essentially our game plan around the multiple scenarios today. What's really important here is that we're kind of in open space today. Dissonant zone. The bearish move is the more immediate move. It's the one that we're staying with scenario 1 to the downside. If that fails, then we start talking about the alternate scenarios. And of course, if scenario 1 does play out, then we get down into this line in the sand here where we pay attention to scenario 3. And if scenario 3 fails, we end up seeing scenario 4, looking for that stretch target. But our first target is that neutral inflection spot there. All right, so that's a quick rundown of everything. Trade really well out there. Make sure you get a good win today in terms of process, not necessarily P&L. Let's focus on that and make sure that that's how we define our winning. So trade well out there, mind your risk, and let's get after it.